Continuing on with our offset drawing, let's put in those 2 holes. So 2 inches up and or whatever you call it, 2 inches from the back edge, 5/8 and 1 1/4. Let's see if I can do that. O for offset, 2 inches, enter. There's where they'll be. Then 5/8 from one edge. And what was it, 1 1/2 apart? 1 1/4 apart. O for offset, 1.25. Okay, there's where the holes will be, and they are 1/4 inch diameter and 3/4 diameter. Alrighty. C for circle. I'm going to do the big hole first because it'll be easier to make the small hole. So intersection. I'm going to go D for diameter, so I can just enter 0.75. Enter to bring up the command. Shift right click to get the intersect, and enter to make that same size again. And then enter to bring up the command again. This time D for diameter is 0.25. Enter. Is that right? That's what it says. And then enter to bring up the command again. Click. Enter to make that same size again. All right, there they are. And at some point I'm going to start getting lines and coming down to the front view and making hidden lines for all that stuff. Okay, now what should we do? Let's come back and make this, whatever this is, this slot in the back edge of the thing. So it's 1 inch and 1 inch, and it's 1/4 inch deep. All right. O for offset, I'll do the 0.25, 1/4 inch deep. And then O for offset, 1 inch. From here down and from here down. Okay. And I'll use trim, enter. Oops, sorry. Trim, enter, enter, so I can just quickly get those guys out of there. All right. Now what do we got? There are some chamfers, aren't there? There, and there. 5 of them. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, let's try it. The chamfer is 1/8 inch and it's 45 degrees. So where is the chamfer? It's hiding under the fillet. Click that down arrow. Chamfer. All right. Select first line. No, I don't know the distance yet. So click distance. And it is 0.125. Enter. Second distance is the same because it's a 45-degree thingy. Okay, now I can click, click, enter to bring it back. Click, click, enter. Click, click, enter. Click, click, enter. Click, click, enter. All right. How about a fillet radius in there? Do we know how big that is? Unless otherwise specified, all fillets are a radius 1/4. Right. Well, here's one that's otherwise specified. This outside corner here is not 1/4. The others are. So let's do this. Let's get a fillet. So now it's hiding under the chamfer. Fillet. R for radius. 0.25. And what have I got? That is a fillet. That is a fillet. Oops. Got to bring up the command again. Enter to bring up the command. Click those 2. Enter to bring up the command. And those 2. And then this, oops, this outside corner is an 1/8 inch radius. So let's do that. So enter to bring up the fillet again. Now R for radius, and I'll enter that smaller 1/8 inch radius, 0.125. Select objects, enter to bring up the command, select objects. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Now might be a good time to start putting all these hidden lines in down here. Let's start with our big slot. What the heck is happening? That counter bore is 1/8 of an inch thick, and then the slot goes all the way through. Okay, so let's see what that looks like here in our drawing. Let me just run a line down. The midpoint is okay because it's the midpoint of that arc, so that's why I don't need a quadrant if I can get the midpoint of the arc. I do need to make sure that my O-snap is perpendicular to stuff down here. And let me get another center line happening. Okay, now this counter bore is 1/8 of an inch thick, so O for offset, 0.125, and offset. Let me zoom in on my slot here so we can see what's happening, and let's do TR for trim. Enter again. I'll just use everybody for a what you call it, cutter. And I'll use a right crossing window to trim those guys up, and I'll trim that out of there. Oh yes. And now I'd like to move these to a hidden layer, so I'm going to select all those lines and then just go up here and click hidden. Great. And now I'm going to select these two lines and go up here and select center to move them onto a center layer. All right, let's get our counterboard holes here. So I'm just going to run. I could use offset if I wanted to. I'm just, what do you call it? Running lines down. Okay, and this one has a counter bore that is 3/16 deep, so 0.188. O for offset, 0.188. Offset that line. Okay, now I'm going to come in here, zoom in close, and do TR for trim. I'll just hit enter to select everything as a cutter. Oh, that's probably stupid. Yeah, probably should. TR for trim, I probably would be smart to use these. Okay, so there's that. Trim these. Trim that. Da-da-da-da-da. All right, now I'm going to select. That is a weird looking hole. The counter bore is large relative to the hole. I'm going to use a right crossing window to select these lines. Now they're selected. Now I'll come up here and click hidden. Okay. Escape. Now I'll select this line and come up here and select center. Great. Now, before I do too much, let's think about our cutting plane line, shall we? So here's our cutting plane line. If I were being careful, I might measure a nice distance out beyond there, but I want to make sure we have time to look at these, so I'm just going to eyeball it for now. I'm going to switch to the cutting plane layer, which is a thick phantom line. And what am I going to do? I'm going to extend this line out a bit. Okay. Now, I need a leader style. So I'm going to go to the Annotate tab. Let me make this a little bit bigger. To Leaders, and get the leader style. There's the standard style. I need a new leaders. Cutting plane. Continue. Okay, now for this one, text, that's not what I want. It's not the arrowheads. Here we go, the arrowheads. For the cutting plane alone, I want my arrowhead to be 1/4 of an inch long, 250. Okay. And the cutting plane is the current leader style, so I'm good. Now, oh, you know what? I struggle with leaders. Let's go back to our leader style one more time, because what we should do is not automatically include a landing. We just want an arrow, thank you, that's all. So just an arrow, no landing. I hope this works. Close. And I've got ortho turned on, which is smart. Now I will get a leader, click. I will come out here and just click somewhere in space and drag down to my line here. And I'm just going to get out of there. That's probably too long, isn't it? Let me move my arrow down a bit. Oh, please move. Okay. And now I'm going to get a leader again. And can't get my green thing to show up. Oh well. And I'm going to make an arrowhead here and come down and be perpendicular. And now, because I goofed up a little, I'm going to do trim, TR, trim, enter. Okay, now the only things that are on the cutting plane layer right now are those two arrowheads. So now I'm still on the cutting plane layer. Now I'm going to get a cutting plane line and go zigzagging around here. So L for line. I'm going to go over here, up here, over here. I do not want center lines under my cutting plane line, so I'm going to erase whatever that was, and I'm going to erase whatever that was. We don't want it in there. Looky there! Our cutting plane line has appeared. And now I should trim up these lines and turn them into, these are going to be center lines. I need to shorten them, of course. They're not looking right now. But I wanted to go over to our paper space while we still have a minute and see what scale we should use. So I'm going to open the viewport by double-clicking. This is a scale of 1:1. That's probably not going to work. So we probably are going to need 1:2. Well, you know what? Maybe it would work. Maybe it would work. What if we move these guys closer together? Do you think that would work? Probably not. I really would rather just do full size. It might. It just might. I'll move this down just a little bit. One-to-one might work. Okay, so that means that our dimension style and leader style will stay at a scale of 1:1. Whew, we ran out of video time.